I said my amplified unit. I said my amplified unit. Where you at this morning? Oh, that's right. What was I thinking? If you watched SmackDown Live last night, well, you're probably still asleep this morning. That's right, I know, I saw social media. Some people didn't mind this show. Some people actually liked this show. But I'm going to pose a lot of questions during this review. And it's probably going to be a shorter review because there's not a lot to go over because SmackDown didn't produce a whole hell of a lot last night. But I'm going to pose a lot of questions because I'm not here to change your opinion on how you felt about the show. But I am going to drop a little bit of facts, some knowledge. I'm going to raise some thought-provoking questions as I go on through this review. Questions like, did this entertain you? Did this get you up out of your seat if you were at the arena or at the edge of your seat if you were at home in your king's chair or your queen's couch? Questions like that, because I really want to identify with what made you excited, what got you intrigued, and what were you entertained by last night. I'm going to be upfront with you guys and tell you honestly, in the past several months, the longest time that I can remember since WWE SmackDown has been live on Tuesday nights, I have had a commitment on Tuesday nights. So I could not watch SmackDown live every Tuesday. I had to watch it at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. the next morning, and then dish out the review to you guys. But last night, because recently I ended those commitments, finally, long overdue, now on Tuesday nights, I can watch live SmackDown. So I was actually pumped for that, because again, this was the first live SmackDown I was going to be able to catch in a very long time. But I noticed from the beginning of that show, there wasn't a real buzz. It just seemed very lackluster to me. The mediocrity was astounding to me. There wasn't those feelings that you're watching a WWE show. I mean, even Raw, that's been pretty much atrocious for the last couple of years, at least. You know that if something is going to happen, it's going to be on Raw. Right? So there's always that thought in the back of your mind that something at any moment could happen. Even after all these months, and even years, you could say. It usually doesn't, but every now and again, you got something pops up that catches your attention. That's a whoa moment. SmackDown didn't have that feel, it didn't have that buzz, and I noticed that when I do watch it at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 9 a.m. the next morning, whenever I am able to catch it usually, I notice that it's lacking that, but catching it live, no matter how you feel about Raw, and I'm with you, I think Raw has been absolutely tragic and criminal for the past couple of years at least. And I say several years. But no matter how you feel about it, there is still that buzz, there is still that feeling that that is the A show. And the cool thing to do in pro wrestling for the fans these days is to call SmackDown the A show. Because again, I agree with you. SmackDown puts on more good shows than Raw, usually. Not just that, SmackDown strings together consistency in good shows. In other words, they'll put together 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row of good shows. But it's not really the A show, is it? It doesn't have the biggest players, usually. It doesn't have the biggest storylines, usually. It's not 3 hours, ever. And Vince doesn't give it the time of day like he gives Raw. Those are just facts. So we can be cute and say, SmackDown's the A show. We can be even cuter if you want, if you really want to be the really marky crowd, and say, NXT's the A show. When in reality, they're stuffed on a Wednesday night on the WWE Network. If you're not part of that hardcore niche audience, that's far from the A show. Let's not joke. I mean, I know, I'm with you NXT fans. I totally agree. That's, product-wise, would be the best. SmackDown, product-wise, easily better than Raw. But the A show is still treated as such. And as such is Raw. And you guys know I'm telling the truth here. And I'm not even talking about storylines, characters. I'm talking about, right, the most important stuff, right? But before we even get to that, the feeling that we have. The feeling I had watching SmackDown last night was the feeling I had when my grandfather, when I was at his funeral. I didn't know if I was watching something I should be excited about or if I should be just depressed and stay silent. I love you, Grandpop, but I gotta use that as an example. I don't know which was more depressing. 2 hours of WWE SmackDown Live. We're supposed to be watching an awesome TV show for 2 hours. I watch Stranger Things and I'm captivated. I watch The Sopranos, I'm captivated. I watch a half an hour of comedy show like King of Queens or Seinfeld or Friends. I'm captivated for that half an hour. 2 hours of SmackDown last night, live. I finally get to catch it live. I'm not captivated. But if you liked it, that's cool. Let's run down this card, and I'm going to ask you guys what you possibly liked. We started off the show with Shane McMahon. He demands Roman Reigns come down to the ring and apologize for what he did to his father, Vince McMahon, the week previous when he Superman punched him. At first, I'm like, this is cool. Roman versus Shane, Money in the Bank? Take my money. Literally, put it in the bank. Shane and Roman complement each other. Of course, at the surface, you say Roman would eat Shane McMahon up, as he should, but that's still an awesome fight. And that's a match where it's more of a fight than a wrestling match. Roman Reigns was never known for his wrestling ability, right? He's known for his 3 moves of doom. The drive-by, the spear, the Superman punch. That's really it. I guess you could throw in the powerbomb. But he's known for his 3 moves of doom. He's not known to be a great wrestler. Shane McMahon, obviously, is known for his risk-taking and that he's just going to punch you in the face and brawl with you. So, on a stacked Money in the Bank anyway, with the wrestling already being taken care of with AJ Styles and Seth Rollins, you got 2 awesome Money in the Bank matches, briefcase matches, we hope, and a SmackDown title match in what looks like Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens. We'll get to that later on. Give us the exhibition fight of Roman and Shane. I'm down with that. But it quickly becomes apparent that that's not where they're headed. They're going to throw in Elias, and in a couple of weeks, this is all going to lead into Elias laying flat on his back and taking the L to Roman. And I think Elias deserves to be catapulted to the moon. Strap the rocket to his back and let this man soar. Because Elias has what it takes to be a larger-than-life character in this business. 50-50 booking has ruined him, and Vince McMahon looks to continue to ruin him come Money in the Bank. Because Roman did answer Shane McMahon's demands, but Elias goes to hit him from behind, goes to attack Roman from behind. Roman catches him, of course, and when Roman turns around to attend to Elias, Shane McMahon finds an opportunity to jump Roman. For a minute there, Elias and Shane McMahon have the upper hand on Roman, but it doesn't take long for Roman to regain the upper hand, and Elias and Shane McMahon retreat to the back. And even though Roman's a little banged up, he's still left standing there in the middle of the ring. He was still the last man. I don't know if he was actually, maybe he was on one knee, but he was still the one left in the ring, while 2 guys who are more than capable of holding their own, Shane McMahon and Elias, retreat to the back. If that doesn't tell you Elias is dropping this match at Money in the Bank, then I don't know what to tell you. So it started out as cool. Shane McMahon, Roman Reigns, face to face. Shane throws the microphone into Roman Reigns' chest, and then he starts doing his Shane McMahon bobble. You think they're gonna get it on, start something cool, and there's Elias. And again, I love seeing Elias. I want Elias in epic storylines, but I want it to lead to Elias winning matches. We've seen this with Bray Wyatt for years. Bray Wyatt was in some really cool feuds, and every single pay-per-view, he would lose. So it ended out with just a Roman gaining the upper hand on 2 guys. That was the whole first segment. So I'm like, It started out cool, and it totally devalued itself over the next 5 to 10 minutes. That was your opening segment. And all that led to was a backstage segment where somebody went up to Roman and said, Elias wants you at Money in the Bank. And Roman's like, tell him he's on. That was it. All right, so all of that was just to set up Roman and Elias. Two Monday Night Raw guys that just got the SmackDown, and they're just going to continue a Monday Night Raw match on SmackDown at Money in the Bank, if that makes sense. Same thing we saw SmackDown competitors doing on Monday Night Raw this week. The triple threat match, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Rey Mysterio, they were all from SmackDown. Why were all of them in one match together on Raw? Then you saw Naomi take on Billie Kay. Well, that was over on SmackDown too. We've seen that so many times. This is supposed to be a shake-up, fresh matches. So here we are on SmackDown. We got two Raw guys that just landed. Let's put them together at the pay-per-view. How does that excite you? That's my question. Was that getting you off your feet if you're in the arena, or is that getting you to the edge of your seat if you're on your king's chair or your queen's couch? Just asking. I'm not trying to change your opinion, but I am trying to understand what you loved about this show. Then we went into the first match of the night. This was Finn Balor taking on Andrade Cien Almas. Normally I would like this if you booked this correctly. This could have been a pay-per-view match, but they rushed it with a couple of commercial breaks, and before you know it, I was disinterested. I was even more furious at the finish. Finn Balor, who's 50-50 booked anyway with the championship, which most champions are because everybody in the company is 50-50 booked and ruined. But the finish just saw a simplistic coup de grace. Andrade lays on his back for the 1-2-3. Just like Elias, you see something special in Andrade Cien Almas, and yet they just have this guy go out there and be a glorified Brooklyn Brawler, because that's all Andrade is right now. He's just the Brooklyn Brawler of 2019, just with a hot manager in Zelina Vega. That's all Andrade is, and that's criminal because this guy's got immense talent. BC, he's not really great on the mic, and we know BC doesn't like, Vince McMahon doesn't like when people aren't good on the mic. Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka, and if you can't speak good English, he'll bury you. Well, shit, Vince McMahon at this point will bury anybody if your name's not Mr. Roman Reigns. Even Seth Rollins is 50-50 booked. 2018, a lot of part of that, he was in a tag team with Dean Ambrose. Vince doesn't know what to do with Seth Rollins half the time. He only throws him in there because he knows he's got to take Roman off several times every year because he's not getting what he wants reaction-wise from Roman. And then when Roman had what he came down with last October, Seth Rollins was your only option because he doesn't create superstars anymore. And I like Seth Rollins, trust me. But what were your options? On Monday Night Raw, you had, nobody, just Seth Rollins. Braun Strowman had a chance. You ruined him every which way to Sunday. Anyway, where was I going? Yeah, I'm just amplified and pissed off that Andrade Cien Almas is just losing simplistic middle of SmackDown matches still. And this is a guy who got transferred over to Raw last week, and then this week he's back on SmackDown. Next Monday, they're probably going to tell him to show up at WCW Nitro. The poor guy's going to show up to an empty building and find out last second that WCW Nitro has been canceled for a decade plus. Then you went into Kairi Sane versus Peyton Royce. Wow, take my money because you know what's going to happen here. In 3 minutes, Peyton Royce is going to lay flat on her back and take the L because she's a champion. Why wouldn't she? Sure enough, 3 minutes later, Peyton Royce is flat on her back taking an L. And I love Kairi Sane. She should not be losing and she should be winning. Kairi Sane is, we call Alexa Bliss 5 feet of fury. Kairi Sane is like under 4 feet of fury. She's amazing. I love her. She's got an insane elbow for sure, man. Macho Man would be proud of that every time she hits that. But I just don't see why your champions are constantly taking an L every single time they're out there. I said this a million times since the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. I'll keep saying it. The way they used Peyton Royce and Billie Kay after Raw was perfect. You bring out local jobbers. You have the Iconics talk about how they're some of the best talent in the world, even though we've never heard of them. And they even have to cheat to beat them even. I'd have them cheat beating the jobbers. Really grow and raise the stock in that heel heat. Because they are super annoying. You really do want to hate them. So if they cheat more and they're winning, and they're saying that jobbers, local talent, is some of the best athletes in the world, some of the best wrestlers, that's going to make you kind of hate them more. Instead, they have them going out there every show and losing in tag team matches, singly. And when you look at them, you say, they're the champions? You know, championships don't matter anymore. What happened about that? Why? It used to be when somebody had the belt, they were the top dogs. They were something to be scared of. Even the cheaters, the ones we knew had to cheat to win. Even Jinder Mahal, when he had the championship, you knew that there was going to be cheatery here. He was going to find a way to win. And that's what we were trying to fight against for the heroes, right? We got to find a way not only to beat Jinder, but also the Singh brothers, also the Great Khali, and any other trick he has up his sleeve. With the Iconics, there's no tricks. They just lose all the time. So you don't look at them as champions. You look at them as chumps. Speaking of Jinder Mahal, are you not excited yet on SmackDown? Because some people at this point were saying, hey, good SmackDown. What was good? Seeing Andrade Cien lose flat on his back? Seeing Peyton Royce lose in 3 minutes yet again? What are you excited about so far? So let's end the first hour with Jinder Mahal versus Chad Gable. 2 more Raw guys just landed on SmackDown, so let's have that match. No shakeup, no fresh organic matches, just another Raw match, but on SmackDown. You guys catching what? See, that's what I mean. I do my research. I pay a close attention in detail to what I'm viewing. And then I ask questions for people that loved. Please, sir, can I have some more? Golf clap. Because it's you people that are making Vince McMahon okay with what he's producing. Oh, they liked it? Let's give them more. Chad Gable and Jinder Mahal. I can't believe I'm saying this. Thank goodness for Lars Sullivan, because we didn't have to see this match. And I like Chad Gable matches. But Gable versus Mahal, after the SmackDown we've had so far up to this point, I don't need to see this for 7 to 10 minutes. So Sullivan comes out, takes out Chad Gable. Then he takes out, I believe, Mahal, definitely a Singh brother. And then R-Truth's music hits, like he's gonna do something, like he's somebody. R-Truth comes down and he suffers the same fate as everybody else. Lars Sullivan manhandles him. Okay? Not sure what that did. This morning, here we are hours after SmackDown Live last night, and I still can't say I'm any more excited to see Lars Sullivan than I was before that segment last night. But if that excited you, if that made you say, wow, good SmackDown, golf clap for you, man. You can just take shit and like it. That's awesome. That was the first hour. Hopefully the second hour will be better. Oh, some people like this, right? Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, back and forth promo. Listen, I'm not going to lie. There was a couple of good zingers in here. But it all culminates to what? Charlotte versus Becky at Money in the Bank. The problem is we've seen Charlotte versus Becky 1,675 times. If that seems like it's a heightened amount, it's because it's a heightened amount. That is a lot. I used to have people tell me, BC, I know you love Sasha, but we've seen Sasha and Charlotte so many times. But those same people are probably Becky Lynch fans and okay with Charlotte Flair and Becky. Or they're Charlotte Flair fans and saying, I'm okay with Charlotte and Becky for this X amount of times. How many times? The problem I have, guys, I know they'll deliver in some way. Many ways. The problem is we've already seen the best that they have. We've seen them in every type of match almost. We've seen them nearly kill each other. There's nothing else they have to do or can do. And that's what I mean. There's no way out of this but to dilute it. It's going to be diluted because you can't go any further. Vince McMahon once said it best in the Attitude Era. He said, once you have guys chasing each other around with chainsaws, how much farther can you go? I always remember that statement because there is a limit, a line. We've already reached that with Becky and Charlotte so many times. Shit, they even had to be in the main event together at WrestleMania with Ronda. They could even have just one-on-one. Becky and Ronda. No, Charlotte had to be in that too. So what do? You throw her in another them two in another match at Money in the Bank. I'm over that. You gotta make room. And Becky Lynch goes out there and says that, so they put it in the promo, but they won't do anything about it. That's what pisses me off. But there was good zinger. Charlotte says, you beat Ronda, not me, so what makes you think you deserve that SmackDown title? Becky responds, I beat you so many times, truth bomb, I beat you so many times, I wanted to beat Ronda this time. Now get to the back of the line, because I want to face new challengers like Bayley, Mickie James, and Ember Moon. So she says what we're all thinking, but they're not going to put that onto paper. They're not going to deliver that. So it's all for nothing. It all just leads to Charlotte and Becky. That's what I mean. So I knew from the beginning not to be excited about that. Sure, there were some good zingers. That's what I would expect between two individuals in a feud, in a storyline. So I shouldn't be excited for getting what we should already always get. We have lowered our standards so much that when we get a good promo from people, we're astounded. But she actually did name bomb Ember Moon, Mickie James, and Bayley and say, I want to face them. So that was at least good. This brought out Bayley. Bayley's like, thanks for the shout out, Becky. But you've beat Charlotte Flair so many times, as you said. You even beat Ronda. You've never beaten me. And Becky Two Belts is like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this. So they're face to face. Charlotte Flair breaks them up, of course. And she starts telling Bayley, get to the back line. Basically petting her like she's a dog. A pet fucking cat. And Bayley just shoves her arm away, shoves the fucking microphone away. And I left a tweet last night on the Twitter machine. I said, this is the Bayley we need to see. No more hugging, just straight mean mugging and thugging. And that's the Bayley we got face to face with Charlotte. And Charlotte proceeds to make her own match. Now, I know she's Vince's golden child, but since when can you make your own title matches? Charlotte said, we're going to have a match now, and the winner will take on Becky, basically is what she said. So then we had an impromptu match, Bayley versus Charlotte Flair. Of course, at the end of this 8-9 minutes, Charlotte Flair defeats Bayley, 1, 2, 3. So the match we all want to... I'm not going to say we're yearning to see Bayley and Becky Lynch, but at least it's something new, something fresh for Money in the Bank. And one of the names that Becky name bombs, she's out there, she's fully ready to compete at Money in the Bank, and no, she just gets beat by Charlotte Flair. And all of a sudden, the announcers, the commentators are like, so there it is, Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch at Money in the Bank. And I'm like, says who? Charlotte just said that's what's gonna happen. Wham! Is Fit Finlay calling the shit? Just like fucking Becky Lynch was able to get into the Royal Rumble this year, just because Fit Finlay's like, all right, I bestow great power upon myself. Fucking Fit Finley's got a magic wand. He doesn't even have to be out there anymore. He's waving that shit from backstage, right? Went to the fucking school of wizardry. The guy's a fucking a graduate 10 times over from Hogwarts. This motherfucker's just waving a wand. Charlotte, you have all the fucking power in the world now. And Charlotte's like, if I beat you, Bayley, I'm going to see you, Becky. And I just don't like that, man. What happened to realism? You can't just make your own matches. If that's the case, the Brooklyn Brawler would be back right now. Calling his own shots. Barry Horowitz would be back. Then Kofi Kingston versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I understand. This is where you're saying BC. That's a good match, man. Kofi versus Shinsuke. Yes, they've been on the same brand for a long time now. We've seen them in tag team matches, Rusev and Shinsuke versus the New Day. So it's nothing really new to me. And not just that, but Shinsuke has been so watered down as of late. And by as of late, I pretty much mean his whole entire main roster career. Like most individuals that sign that main roster contract. So what should be really cool one-on-one in a main event of any show, even a live event, is really not. So Kofi and Shinsuke just didn't do it for me last night, man. You add in the commercial breaks, you add in that there's no real intrigue to it. Don't get me wrong, I'll take that a million times over 6-man schmaz matches every single show, because for the 2 weeks after WrestleMania, the Monday Night Raw after, the SmackDown after, last week's Raw, last week's SmackDown, 4 shows in a row all ended with 6-man tag matches. I'm all set. So I'll take Shinsuke and Kofi. You need to promote your champion like an actual individual. He's not in a team anymore once he has that title. Or if he is, you still have to put his singles run ahead of his team. And since WrestleMania, we haven't seen that. So at least they showcased Kofi like that last night. When you had a subpar entire SmackDown show last night, I needed a little bit more. And I didn't get that. You had in Kofi's corner, you had Kevin Owens, the honorary member of the New Day, KO. What do they call him? The Big O. And Xavier Woods. In Shinsuke's corner, obviously Rusev and Lana. Late in this match, Rusev interferes, late causing a disqualification victory for Kofi Kingston. After the match, Xavier, Rusev, Owens, Shinsuke, and Kofi are all in a melee of sorts. When out of nowhere, KO hits a super kick onto Kofi Kingston. Instant heel turn for Owens, and it was perfect timing. His character absolutely needed it, and this will help Kofi stay hot through Money in the Bank. And that's just as important as Kevin Owens doing this for himself. This also helps catapult Kofi Kingston into something meaningful for Money in the Bank. They kind of set the seeds for this once Big E had that injury. They inserted Kevin Owens beautifully. I didn't like this unless it led to something cool. This was that something cool. I think Kevin Owens is the perfect heel opponent for Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank. Because Kevin Owens is very believable in his delivery as a heel. He shows you that there is that sadistic side and that he is ruthless and willing to go to any measures and any extremes to get what he wants. We saw that down in NXT. And that's what I loved about last night's heel turn is you saw some of that NXT villain Kevin Owens, that old school Kevin Owens, when he took Xavier Woods after he super kicked Kofi Kingston. He took Xavier Woods on the outside and he powerbombed him onto the ring apron. That's what he did to Sami Zayn when he turned his back on Zayn down in NXT, and I loved that heel turn, and I think this was perfect timing as well. So this was definitely, easily, not just the bright spot of SmackDown, but this was the news story of SmackDown. This was the big hot topic when SmackDown went off the air. But in all honesty, it didn't have a lot to beat out. SmackDown was, again, pretty lame last night. But I do love this, man. Again, it was an old school type of a heel turn. You saw the super kick out of nowhere. That brought me back to like when Shawn Michaels super kicked Marty Jannetty at the barber shop. I always loved the super kick heel turn. And then you had, again, that old school powerbomb on the ring apron. That's when you know Kevin Owens is back to being Kevin Owens. Because this just seemed like a front to me. We know he's comedic. We know he's funny. But it just, something wasn't fitting lately since he's been back. And this is Kevin Owens, man. That ruthless, I'm willing to do anything and everything it takes to get what I want. And there was a visual. I'll put it up in the thumbnail, actually, too. You guys probably already saw it, obviously. But Kofi Kingston is down and out inside the ring, and Owens is standing over him, foot on him, and he's holding up Kofi's title. Basically, that bitch is coming home to daddy. That's what Kevin Owens is basically saying to Kofi. So, everybody's asking, right? Everyone's asking, why, KO? Why? Why, Owens? Why? Simple. Kevin Owens was never in this business for friends. He showed you that in NXT with Sami Zayn. And when he aligned himself with Triple H during that time, when he became Universal Champion, and just because he came back from injury doesn't mean he's going to dial it back and become friends with everybody. No, he's in this business for one thing. His character screams that he's in this business for one thing, that title. His character screams, never trust me. Remember what he did to Sami Zayn in NXT. Remember what he did to Chris Jericho at the Festival of Friendship. Now look what he did to Kofi Kingston. At what point are they going to learn you cannot trust Owens? DTA, as Stone Cold used to say. Don't trust anybody. That goes in anything in life. For any person. It doesn't have to be in the wrestling business. DTA. Don't trust anybody. You can keep people close. You can confide in people. You can know who to give a little bit more information to. But then you still have to watch and monitor the situation closely in such person. Because deep down, you can only really trust yourself. And even that gets a little shady and sketchy at times, doesn't it? Temptation is a bitch. Whether they wanted to be best buds or not, temptation is a bitch. That title, it tempted Kevin Owens too much yet again. And he stabbed his buddy in the back yet again. Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho, Kofi Kingston. I'm sure there's others. At what point are people going to realize KO is only here for one thing? He's there for that gold. And that was SmackDown, guys. So at least it ended with a bright spot. No question about it. The other hour and 50 minutes of this show plus, what are you going to tell me? BC, I liked it because Becky Lynch and Charlotte had some good jabs and Bayley showed some chutzpah on the microphone. Wow. So you liked it because the people that are doing their jobs did their job good? Oh, okay. Let's raise our standards a little bit next week. How about it? I liked it, BC, because I got to see Finn Balor and Andrade Cien Almas. I'd rather not see it if you're going to treat Almas like the Brooklyn Brawler. I liked it, BC, because we were seeing Chad Gable and Jinder Mahal. And Lars Sullivan came down. And then R-Truth, and this was just epic television. Wow, that's awesome. I didn't see what you were seeing, but I'm sure it was. I liked it, BC, because even Elias and Shane McMahon could not overtake Roman. So this was amazing. Like, it was such a moment of supernatural ability by Roman. Awesome. I saw unrealism, but okay. So again, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just asking questions. What did you see in this show? And the bigger underlining issue for me was that, again, as I started this show off, I don't usually get to see live SmackDowns. From now on, I believe I'm going to, but I had a commitment for a long time on Tuesday nights, so I always had to catch it the next morning at some point. Last night, I actually got to catch it live, and there was no buzz. There wasn't that feeling that anything could happen. And it's because you know that if something big is going to happen, something epic, it's usually, or somebody's going to show up, it's usually going to be Monday Night Raw because Vince treats that as the A show. So again, even though it sounds cute and cuddly, and as fans, we like to say SmackDown's the A show, screw Raw, or NXT's the A show, screw Raw. Guys, come on. We know what the true A show is. It doesn't mean it's the best show, not by a long shot. But Vince has that propelled up to be the A show. When SmackDown actually goes to Fox, I truly hope that there is a buzz, that the feeling that when I sit down to watch SmackDown Live, man, I got a feeling that I'm about to watch a good wrestling show. Even though we haven't got that in Raw in years, at least there's that subconscious feeling in knowledge of knowing that, that made sense. That's when you know it's, I gotta go get another fucking coffee. In the back of your head watching Raw, you know that if a big moment is going to happen, it's going to be on that show. You know that you can miss SmackDown, catch it the next morning or whatever, and you're not probably going to miss a lot. I have to go. I have to get a coffee. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. If you guys sat down last night and from the opening bell to the end of the show, you had that buzz, you felt like you were watching something cool, good for you, man. I can't say I get enough of that on Raw, for sure. I definitely wanted that for SmackDown Live when I sat down last night. I just didn't get that. So, I don't know, man. When it moves to Fox, like I said, it's got to be something special again. It has to, I'm not saying it has to overtake Raw as the A show, but it has to at least compete. It has to be on equal footing. I don't feel it is right now. I feel SmackDown is drastically lower on the totem pole. And that's what I don't like. Again, not wrestling-wise, not show-wise, because SmackDown most of the time puts on better shows than Raw. But I'm talking about the overall feeling. And that's the first thing they have to fix. And I would love to say it's a simple fix. Create larger-than-life characters, stories we care about, feuds we're intrigued by. But that's something this company either lost the art of or just doesn't care about anymore. So if those three things are out the window, which is a simplistic formula for success, you better find other ways to create buzzes then. You better get some captivating superstars onto your show. You better catapult our intrigue in other ways, and I don't know what those ways would be. Good luck. As if you didn't have enough on your plate to make this show better, now you have even more. You don't even have a buzz, a good feel about SmackDown, and that's a shame. I'll see you guys for an impromptu video this week, obviously, and the podcast later this week. For now, the Amplified Man, you know the deal. Amplified size coffees, a whole lot of ass whooping, and we'll check you later.